So, the Supreme Court just delivered a crushing blow to Trump's inner circle after a secret deal between his allies and foreign operatives got exposed during a live congressional hearing. Three conservative justices actually joined the liberal wing in condemning what they called an unprecedented breach of constitutional boundaries. The deal involved Trump allies promising to bypass federal oversight in exchange for foreign financial backing of Trump's legal defense fund. But guess what? The whole scheme unraveled when a whistleblower leaked the encrypted communications right in the middle of yesterday's House Judiciary hearing. It's honestly hard to believe they thought they could pull this off without consequences. This isn't just about campaign finance violations. We're talking about potential treason charges, constitutional crises, and the complete implosion of Trump's remaining political infrastructure. And trust me, the Supreme Court's emergency intervention is sending shockwaves through every level of government. Let me fill you in on what's been happening. So, this whole situation centers around Mark Meadows, Trump's former chief of staff, and a group of wealthy donors who've been funding Trump's various legal battles since early 2024. Meadows has been the primary coordinator between Trump's legal team and these financial backers. From the get-go, he positioned himself as the essential middleman who could keep the money flowing while Trump fought his numerous indictments. Whether it was organizing fundraisers, setting up shell companies, or managing offshore accounts, Meadows really cemented himself as Trump's financial lifeline during his darkest legal hours. But here's where the rubber meets the road. We're now 3 days into this explosive scandal. Federal investigations are accelerating. Bank accounts are being frozen. Congressional subpoenas are flying out faster than anyone can count. This mess is unfolding because Meadows and his associates allegedly struck deals with foreign nationals to funnel money through cryptocurrency exchanges into Trump's defense fund, completely circumventing federal election laws and foreign agent registration requirements. And guess who's stuck right in the middle? Yep, Trump's entire legal team. They're supposed to be defending him in court. But here's the kicker. The Supreme Court just ruled that any lawyer who knowingly accepted funds from these tainted sources could face immediate disbarment and criminal prosecution. And before we go any further, let's be real for a second. The Foreign Agents Registration Act has been on the books since 1938, but enforcement has typically been lax. Now, back to the matter at hand. Reports from around October 23rd revealed just how panicked Trump's team was when the whistleblower, identified only as Source 7 in court documents, began releasing encrypted WhatsApp messages during the live C-SPAN broadcast of the House Judiciary Committee hearing. Representative Jamie Raskin was mid-question when suddenly his aide handed him a tablet showing real-time leaks appearing on social media. He literally stopped the hearing and read them aloud, including one message where Meadows explicitly wrote, "The Saudis are good for another 50 million if we can guarantee no extradition treaties will be honored." Talk about strong words. Essentially, Meadows was promising foreign governments that a future Trump administration would protect their interests in exchange for massive cash infusions right now. And this wasn't a private conversation. The messages were being broadcast live to millions of Americans, making it clear that Trump's team had crossed every ethical and legal boundary imaginable. This announcement sent shockwaves through Washington because it raised all sorts of questions. If Trump's own chief of staff could orchestrate such a blatant violation of federal law, what did that mean for everyone else, scrambling to maintain their political viability heading into 2025? Now, this isn't the first time we've seen this. Trump's loyalty really only extends to himself. Whenever someone stops being useful or gets caught in legal jeopardy, he's quick to turn on them. We've spotted this pattern time and time again. Just think about how he turned on Jeff Sessions right after Sessions recused himself from the Russia investigation. Sessions had been the first senator to endorse Trump, stood by him through every controversy, and Trump thanked him by publicly humiliating him for months until he resigned. Then there was Michael Cohen. Trump called him his personal lawyer and fixer for over a decade. Cohen even went to prison, initially staying loyal to Trump. But when Cohen decided to cooperate with prosecutors, Trump immediately labeled him a rat and a liar, despite Cohen having recordings proving Trump's involvement in various schemes. And let's not forget how he distanced himself from Mike Pence when Pence refused to overturn the election on January 6th. After 4 years of absolute loyalty, Pence's refusal to violate the Constitution led to Trump supporters literally chanting for his execution while Trump watched on television and did nothing for hours. Even Kevin McCarthy faced a similar fate when he briefly criticized Trump after January 6th. McCarthy had to fly to Mar-a-Lago to beg for forgiveness, and even then, Trump only gave him conditional support, ultimately contributing to McCarthy's downfall as Speaker. Now, it looks like Meadows is in the hot seat. This pattern is becoming all too familiar. You can show all the loyalty in the world and defend Trump every single day, but the moment you become a legal liability or cease to be useful, he'll toss you aside without a second thought. So, what did Meadows do to trigger this catastrophic exposure? Well, it all boils down to greed and desperation. The impasse happened because Trump's legal bills were approaching $200 million while his fundraising was drying up as donors grew tired of funding his endless legal battles. Traditional Republican donors were trying to move on to other candidates for 2025. Ultimately, Meadows decided to look elsewhere for money since no one was willing to keep writing checks. As Trump's chief financial coordinator, Meadows decided to take an aggressive stance. He reached out to foreign contacts and refused to comply with federal disclosure requirements. His approach seemed to be just keeping the money flowing by any means necessary. At first, Trump seemed to be on board with this idea. He appreciates aggressive tactics and the notion of fighting the system at every turn. But as the scheme expanded into its third month, some issues started cropping up. FBI surveillance increased, banking red flags were triggered, and suspicious activity reports were flooding into the Treasury Department, while Trump's team was desperately trying to keep the scheme under wraps. Predictably, the intelligence community began connecting the dots. Polls indicated that Americans were increasingly concerned about foreign influence in American politics, with 73% saying, according to a YouGov poll from October 21st, that foreign money in politics was their top concern heading into 2025. This was the moment Trump began to sweat a little. You see, Trump values winning, maintaining his base, and overall projecting strength. He doesn't want to be tied to what looks like selling out America to the highest bidder. That's definitely not the image he seeks. And then Meadows went ahead and made a move that, according to Trump insiders, was a serious misstep. Meadows started looking for ways to legitimize the money and figured he should create a complex web of LLCs and cryptocurrency transactions. He even considered registering as a foreign agent retroactively to avoid prosecution. But then, when Trump caught wind of all this, he absolutely lost it. In Trump's eyes, getting caught is just a sign of weakness. Trying to cover your tracks after the fact? That's pure betrayal. Any ally who dares to expose him to legal jeopardy is instantly labeled a traitor. Now, this left Meadows in a tight spot. On one side, he really needs Trump's backing to avoid prosecution himself. The MAGA base will drop him like a hot potato if Trump gives the signal. On the flip side, he actually has to deal with federal investigators closing in. That means figuring out how to avoid indictment, cooperate without seeming disloyal, and keep himself out of prison. The tricky part is all of that requires some level of cooperation with authorities and potentially testifying against Trump, so Meadows is caught in a bind. He can either keep trying to please Trump, which means refusing to cooperate with investigators, and that only makes his legal situation worse and guarantees eventual prosecution. Or he can flip on Trump to save himself, which means providing evidence and testimony, but that'll definitely make Trump turn against him with the full force of his political machine. Here's where it gets interesting. It's a tough situation, and that's the mess Trump creates for all his allies. He demands complete loyalty and wants them to risk everything without budging, but then he points fingers and abandons them when things go south. He's not shy about tossing them under the bus whenever it suits him. This whole scenario is causing major stress within Trump's inner circle. If Trump has turned on Meadows and is willing to publicly distance himself from his own chief of staff, every Trump ally is left wondering if they're the next target. Those moderate Republicans who are trying to balance supporting Trump with staying out of legal trouble are now worried sick about being the next one to get tossed aside. Meanwhile, the hardcore MAGA faction believe Meadows wasn't careful enough and that he's too exposed to prosecution. Things became even more intense when Rudy Giuliani, one of Trump's most loyal defenders, broke away from the official Trump narrative. He had been pushing for complete denial of any wrongdoing and criticized Meadows for creating a paper trail that could be traced. When someone as aligned with Trump as Giuliani starts pointing fingers at other Trump allies, you know you're in a world of hurt. The Supreme Court decided to take unprecedented action. On October 24th, Chief Justice John Roberts issued an emergency order stating that the alleged conspiracy represented a fundamental threat to American sovereignty. He pointed out that Article 3 of the Constitution requires the judiciary to protect the nation from all enemies, foreign and domestic. According to constitutional scholar Lawrence Tribe, who appeared on MSNBC's Morning Joe, the court's language was remarkably forceful. They essentially declared that any attempt to trade American foreign policy for personal legal defense funds constitutes a form of treason. The legal process moved pretty quickly, and the court recognized the urgency. After all, Every day this conspiracy continued meant further erosion of American democratic institutions. And let me tell you, the court didn't hold back with the ruling. It was a major blow for Trump's entire operation. The court declared that the scheme was constitutionally indefensible and represented a clear and present danger to national security. That's legal speak for saying, you've got no solid ground to stand on here. There's no legal validity to what you're doing. You're essentially engaged in treasonous activity. Chief Justice Roberts calling out Trump allies by name created a real stir. It's a significant move, reminding Trump and his associates that they aren't above the Constitution. This is a huge deal that doesn't usually happen in functioning democracies. Legal experts are noting that we haven't seen the Supreme Court intervene this directly in a political scandal since the Pentagon Papers in 1971. Jonathan Turley, a conservative constitutional scholar who frequently appears on Fox News, went on air and made a statement that really should catch everyone's attention. He said that this ruling makes it virtually impossible for any legitimate lawyer to continue representing Trump if they've accepted any funds from these sources. The court has essentially declared Trump's entire legal defense fund to be fruit of the poisonous tree. Just think about that for a moment. This is career-ending for any lawyer involved. And this is coming from a conservative voice on Fox News. Former federal prosecutor Andrew McCarthy, a Trump defender in many previous cases, mentioned that the evidence revealed in the congressional hearing was so damaging that no jury in America would acquit. When legal experts from both sides start tossing around terms like treason and constitutional crisis, that's the moment to really pay attention. Now here's the kicker. So, let's break down what this Supreme Court intervention could mean, because it's not just a captivating legal story. It has serious consequences for how our democracy operates. First up is the immediate political fallout. Trump is already facing significant backlash due to his multiple indictments, and his influence over the Republican Party is taking a hit. GOP representatives are getting anxious about the upcoming 2025 primaries, which is definitely adding to the tension. The revelation that Trump's team was actively soliciting foreign money to fund his legal defense while promising future political favors? And honestly, that's not the best look for him. Most folks in America have a good deal of respect for the Supreme Court as a vital part of our system, even if they don't always agree with its decisions. Democrats are definitely planning to take advantage of this situation. They'll argue that Trump believes he's above the law and does not hold the Constitution in high regard, and they'll have the Supreme Court's own ruling backing up those claims. This is going to be Exhibit A in proving that Trump represents an existential threat to American democracy. You can expect to see this ruling popping up in Democratic campaign ads, speeches, and debates throughout 2025. Now, let's touch on what this means for the judicial system itself. Chief Justice Roberts has been working hard to keep the court out of partisan political battles, wanting it to be viewed as above partisan influence. But by taking this emergency action, the court waded right into a political controversy. Trump and his supporters are now poised to attack the Supreme Court, implying bias and questioning their motives, which complicates things for the court's image as a neutral entity. Yet, Roberts probably felt he had no other choice. If he stayed silent while foreign money flooded into American politics to influence legal proceedings, the court's credibility would take an even bigger hit. This situation shines a massive spotlight on the principle of judicial independence. At the heart of the issue is whether wealthy defendants can just buy their way out of accountability whenever they feel like it. If Trump gets his way on that, it could totally change how our justice system operates. The American legal system was designed with checks and balances specifically to prevent any individual from becoming above the law. The founders knew from European history that allowing the wealthy and powerful to escape justice would lead to tyranny. But Trump has always been uncomfortable with those limitations. He craves total control over everything. If foreign money is allowed to influence American legal proceedings, that's a significant boost to corruption, and it opens the door for future politicians to auction off American interests to the highest bidder. So, the implications of this case reach far beyond just Trump and Meadows. It's about shaping the structure of American democracy for many years to come. Each time Trump brushes aside norms, breaks, laws, or attacks institutions, it weakens our democratic systems. It starts making behavior that used to be completely unacceptable feel normal. Think about it. If Trump can openly solicit foreign money for his legal defense, what's to stop the next politician from doing the same? If he can just promise policy changes in exchange for cash whenever he wants, what's to prevent another leader from following that lead? These actions don't just disappear when Trump leaves the political scene. They become part of our new reality. And that's pretty dangerous. Democracy relies on those norms and institutions, assuming that people in power will play by the rules, even when it's a bit inconvenient. When those norms crumble, democracy itself starts to falter. Looking ahead to the 2025 elections, it's clear that all of this is going to have some significant effects. We're still 12 months out from those elections, but the narrative being set now is bound to influence how things go. If the story playing out is one of Trump battling every institution, including the Supreme Court, and coming out on the losing side, that spells trouble for Republicans. Voters usually don't reward chaos and dysfunction. They want stability and competence. Right now, Trump isn't offering either of those. So expect Democrats to champion a message focused on restoring democratic norms. After years of chaos under Trump, there are folks who believe that if you vote for them, American institutions will actually start working again. They're promising no more constitutional crises or schemes with foreign governments, just good old normal governance. That message might just hit home for a lot of voters, including some moderate Republicans. So, here's the deal. The Supreme Court just declared Trump's foreign money scheme constitutionally indefensible and a threat to national sovereignty. This isn't just about campaign finance violations. It's about whether American democracy can survive when its leaders openly sell influence to foreign powers. If Trump gets away with this, then we're basically saying the Constitution doesn't matter anymore. That would mean we're stepping into a completely new realm where American interests are for sale to the highest bidder. It's about so much more than just Trump's legal bills. It's about whether we genuinely have a functioning democracy or if we're just stuck with whoever can buy the most influence. So, keep an eye on this. Things are just heating up. The indictments are coming, the evidence is mounting, and Trump's allies are scrambling for immunity deals. The next few weeks are going to be crucial. The stakes have never been higher, the evidence stronger, and the outcome more unpredictable.